Was geht ab? Hello. How are you? Good? I was here yesterday. I had a presentation to give on this stage, as well as watching a lot of other great speakers present. And by the way, congratulations to Michael Haas. Amazing work. And it's great to see. He was the student of the year last year at the ADC, and just the level and the quality of work that you guys can do nowadays is just unbelievable compared to the stuff that I was making when I was a student. So anyway, I was here yesterday and, talking to a lot of people and seeing a lot of the presentations. And what I realized was that there was a lot of stuff that was talked about and mentioned. And including my speech as well, I think there were so many things that it was a little bit difficult to decipher what's really at the core of the festival and what was being said. I actually had a different presentation until this morning, but what I decided to do was to strip down the presentation that I had and decided to share simple stories about failure and learning and whatnot. How many of you are currently students, by the way? So quite a few. And how many of you are, say, within the first 5 years of your career? So maybe a little bit less, okay. What I decided to talk about, and just keeping it very basic and very fundamental, and I wanted to share 3 stories. One story around the first job that I had, another story about language, communication, and another story about work. That's really all I came here to talk about. And things and failures that I've had along the way, being a student, getting my first job, getting my second job, and really, being who I am and what I do today. So I'm not going to have a lot of slides to show. Again, like yesterday, there were so many slides that were presented, and I'm sure you see a lot of things on the internet. So. I'm going to just talk for the next 20 minutes or so to share few very simple stories. So first about a job. And I saw quite a few hands from students who are looking for a job now or in the next few months. Some? You can be honest. Some in the back. And the first story about a job. This is when I graduated from college in 1997. So quite a few years ago, about 15, 16, or 17 years ago. I'm getting older. And when I was in college, I went to just to give you my background. I'm originally from Japan. I came to Switzerland, actually, for high school. I stayed in Switzerland for 2.5 years. And then I went to a university in the United States, in a state called Michigan, University of Michigan. I went there to study art and design. And halfway through my college years, when I was at Michigan, that's when the internet was starting to become, it was before the mobile phone days, before Google, before YouTube. That's when Yahoo, you guys know Yahoo, right? Making sure. Yahoo was starting. So it was pretty early on in the internet days. And I also studied computer science as a way to understand not only how to use computers, but also how to write software. So, half of my studies were in design and art, and half of my study was in computer science. So when I graduated, I had 2 what I thought were very marketable skills. One skill in design and one skill in computer science. And mind you, this is 97, 98, when the internet was becoming bigger and more mass marketing. So the summer of 97, I actually packed up all my stuff from school, and I drove from state of Michigan to New York, which was about a 2-day drive. in a truck with my brother and found an apartment and started to look for a job. And what I thought would be a fairly straightforward job application process, maybe in a month I will start working. What ended up happening was that for 8 or almost 9 months, I couldn't get a job. And this is when I was 21, 22, and 9 months without a proper job could feel like an eternity, right? I would send resumes every day, every week to whatever company that I could find. I would look for either a design department or an art department at any company that I could find, whether it was a design studio or even a department store, an art department, or within a department store, or a fashion company or a retail company, whatever company that I could find. I would send resume to a design department or an art department. And wouldn't get a reply. And even if I got a reply, I would get an interview here and there, maybe every 2 weeks, 1 or 2 interviews, and still wouldn't get a job. So, for about 8 or 9 months or so, I was jobless. I was doing part-time jobs here and there to make ends meet. And one story that I wanted to share from that experience, and this probably doesn't make any sense to you. But this is pieces of paper with some scribbles on it, and this is a stack of paper from my dad. And I remember this story that my dad had told me when I was probably about 12 or 13. And the story is when he was about my age at the time, when he was about 18 or 19, he graduated from high school. And he was about to go to college, go to university. In Japan, the way the entrance exam happens with the universities, and especially public universities, which are actually some of the best universities in Japan, the entrance exam for you to qualify for a university happens for all of the public universities on one day at the same time. So what you have to do is you pick the university that you want to go to, you take the standardized entrance exam, and if your score is good enough for that university, you get in. But if you don't get in that year, you have to wait 1 year until the same day the next year to take the same entrance exam, hoping that you would get in, right? So it's not uncommon in Japan for students who are 18, 19 to try once, twice, even 3 times. I've known people who've tried 5 or 6 times to get into universities that they really wanted to go to. So anyways, my dad had one university that he wanted to go to, and he actually didn't get in the first time that he tried. So, when you're 18, you don't get into a school, so you have a lot of time. So he contemplated about what he wanted to do, and what he decided to do was to become a professional writer. He happened to have an uncle, and he went to his uncle and said, "Hey, uncle, I want to become a writer like you. What should I do?" And the uncle goes, "Well, writing is something. It's like a muscle. Writing is something that you can, it's like design as well. It's a muscle that you can train by doing more and more of it. So here's what you do: go back today." Start writing at least 5 pages of essay every day. And do that for 1 year. Every day, even Saturday and Sundays, for 365 days. Write 5 pages of essay every day for 1 year, and then come back to me in a year and show me what you write. Yeah? So, to give credit to my dad, he actually does it. He goes back, he writes 5 pages every day for 1 year, 365 days a year. And 5 times 360, that's like 1,900 pages of essay, right? So he takes the stack of essays that he wrote in 1 year after he does it for 365 days, and he takes it to his uncle. Goes to his uncle and says, "Hey, uncle, I wrote 5 pages every day like you told me. What do you think?" So uncle takes a stack of paper. He reads the first few pages, skips all of 1,800 pages that he wrote, and then all the way to the bottom, and maybe reads a few pages. And then uncle goes to my dad, well, you know what, well done. You actually did what I told you to do for 1 year. That's not a small amount of work. So that's good. But I have news for you. You didn't improve much between the first essay and the last essay, right? After 365 days, writing 5 pages every day. So you probably should give up being a writer. That was the message, very tough message, very harsh message when you are 18, 19 to be given. So my dad gives up becoming a writer at that point, and he decided to go into physics, of all things, of course. And he ended up getting a master's degree in physics, and then now he's a furniture maker. Who knows why, but the point is that now, 30, 40 years later, he actually have about 15 or 17 books published in furniture making, in environmental studies, all those kind of things. And had it not been for the essays that he was writing when he was 18, 19 by himself every day to practice, he wouldn't have been able to publish the books that he did, 10, 20, 50, 30 years later. So lesson number one from that job search that I had when I was 21, 22, and the story that I heard from my dad was that, and especially if you do have some time in your hand, make your own stuff, make your own work. No matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, at least start making, and it will pay off maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. So that's number one. That's that. Second story, language. I'm not a native English speaker. So when I came to high school in Switzerland, and then when I went to the university, language was something that was very difficult for me to master, and especially being Japanese and learning English is a very sort of conceptually different way of speaking, right? So after I graduated from school, and when I started doing design for the first job that I had, maybe about 3 years into it, it got to a point where, because my boss at that time had left the job that I was working for, so I didn't have a job in the first few years. So what ended up happening was that because there was no senior person above me, I had to, not by choice, but by default, I had to be the one to present the work to clients when I was, 24, 25, with very sort of limited English skills. And I would say the first few years, I really had a lot of difficulty presenting because it wasn't easy for me to present in a different language, in a foreign language. After doing it for about a year or so, and I decided to change my approach to from using sort of difficult English words to explain difficult concepts to clients. What I ended up doing was to use simple, easy words that I, as a foreigner, could understand and present and explain to clients in a simple, easy to understand way. So, my English at that point was probably the level of like junior high school, right? So if I can explain a communication concept to a junior high school student, the chances are that you can, explain well to clients. So that's lesson number 2, which is sometimes, your weakness actually can be a strength. So in my case, the weakness was English language and communication, but by simplifying down the way you communicate, that became my strength. So it's really about knowing your weakness, not just your strength, but your weakness, and figuring a way to use that to your advantage. So that's lesson number 2, language and using your weakness as a strength. The third thing, work. It's also another story, but this one I actually wanted to show some work that you may or may not have seen. Something that we did for one of the clients a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago. And it was for YouTube. We had been working with them for a few months at the time. This is back in 2012. I think it was the spring of 2012. And one of the business challenges of YouTube at the time was that, and to some extent, I think they might still have this perception, which is YouTube is all about cat videos and these videos that people just upload silly things and not necessarily professional content, whether it's movies or music. So they wanted to address that perception issue that YouTube as a brand and as a destination had to communicate, hey, you know what, we have really, really good quality content. That was the business challenge that we were posed to solve. And one of the things that we said back to the client, to the YouTube client, was that, well, I mean, there are a lot of amateur people on YouTube, but some of these amateur people are very, very, very skilled and accomplished musicians. They might not be making money as professional musicians, but they might have, I don't know, 1,000 people following them or 10,000 people following them. And some of them are actually quite skilled musicians on their own right. So what if you gave, quote unquote, power to these artists of YouTube, juxtapose, combine them with a professional musician like Coldplay? Hey, there's something that can happen, something that can create that you would never have seen before. 5 years ago, people weren't uploading videos onto YouTube. So the next few things, I'll show you a couple of things. The first thing that I would show you, it's actually a presentation that we gave to YouTube. And it was, we had an in-person presentation, but also we had a quick concept video to explain what it was and how it worked. So I'll show you that presentation video that has never been seen outside of a private meeting. So that's that. And then I'll show you the actual finished piece of work, because I think a lot of times you might see finished pieces of work at festivals like ADC or Cannes or other things, and it's rare for us to be able to see the process and the actual work that was presented to clients.
As an additional part of the campaign, we also want to create an online experience that allows people to view and listen to the song in a totally unique way. The experience will feature different artists helping to build the song as it's played. It will begin with Chris Martin singing the song in a pop-up window in the middle of your browser. When you try your best but you don't succeed. As the individual artists add their own voices and instruments, they will each pop up in different windows, perfectly harmonizing with everyone on the screen. At any point, you'll be able to interact with the tracks. Using the palette, people will be able to isolate specific instruments, such as all the vocal covers uploaded to YouTube. You'll also be able to record and upload your own part of the song, so that other people can mix you and your sound into their version. The track and the experience will continue to grow as the world sings and plays along, giving everyone else the opportunity to create totally new and personal renditions of the track. The track performed by Coldplay, by the artists of YouTube, and of course, by you.
Make sense? No? Yes? Yeah? So this was a presentation video that we did to present the idea to the client. Actually, there was another presentation before this. where we had proposed Adele, the British artist, a British musician, but it happened that the YouTube was already partnering with Coldplay for another occasion, and said, you know what, Coldplay may be a better fit because we might be able to capitalize on the relationship. So that was what was presented. You know, we probably spent about a month or so concepting and coming up with the idea and then sort of forming an idea to that point. And then we spent probably another 3 months presenting to different people at YouTube. We also had to present this Coldplay to make sure that they were okay with it. So, you know, that was actually the video that was shown to Coldplay, and they said, you know, go ahead. And then the next thing that I would show is the finished piece of work. So what you could do, and this was done as a, you know, what they call Chrome experiment. So using Chrome and using unique features of Chrome to push the envelope. So what you could do on the first screen that you just saw is that you could pick these different artists. And each artist is essentially an instrument or a vocal layer within that music. So somebody might be playing a guitar, somebody might be playing a vocal, some of them are actual Coldplay musicians, and on top of that, you could actually record your version of the same song as well. And this is what it looked like. So you see how it works. You know, your version of the song gets mixed in with the version that's played by Coldplay, and all these artists of YouTube coming together, and every rendition of the song is a unique rendition. So there's no rendition that's similar to each other. And an additional part of this was what we call mobile orchestra, where each mobile device, you are able to pick a track or layer of that track, and by bringing, you know, your device and your friend's device, you can create your own rendition of the song as an orchestra. Yeah. So why am I showing this? The reason why I'm showing this, so as I said, you know, spent a month and a half coming up with the idea and the initial presentation, and then probably spent another 3 months or so presenting to YouTube and Coldplay, and then spent another, I think it was probably about 4 or 5 months actually making this, you know, shooting Coldplay in studio, and then gathering all these videos. We actually contacted about 350 YouTube artists, and out of the 350 YouTube artists that we contacted, about 250 of them responded to us with their own version of their video. So we had a lot of content to use. and then creating this Chrome experiment with design and code to make it into an actual usable user interface. So we spent total of about 1, 3, and 5, so about 9 months to go from start to finish. And the reason why I'm showing this as part of this this talk today is that it never launched. So 2 weeks before it was supposed, actually 1 week before, I should say, 1 week before, 2 weeks before, maybe about 3 weeks before the launch, our creative director went to show this to Coldplay directly. So this guy, Pierre, flew from San Francisco to New York, and he had 15 minutes with Coldplay in their dress room when they were about to go on a different TV show. So the manager said, you have 15 minutes, just show the final piece, get their approval, boom. That's what you got. So, Pierre flew from San Francisco to New York for a 15-minute meeting. He goes into the dressing room with Coldplay, presents it. Coldplay guys are like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, sure. Not much interaction. Great. And literally about 5 days before the launch of this, we were all ready to go, just hit live, and it was ready. The manager of Coldplay calls us and says, it's off. And the reason was that, the band changed their mind. And that was all there was to it. So, we spent 9 months creating, presenting this, coming up with this idea, presenting it and creating it, getting approval from the client, in this case, Coldplay. And then, a few days before that, they got the Cold Feet and Coldplay, Cold Feet, and we should have known. And it never launched. So this is actually one of the first, one of the very few times that we are actually showing this publicly. But I guess the point is that we ended up using some of the ideas and some of the learnings from that experience, and was able to apply, and we even created our own version of that mobile orchestra for our own use. So to wrap up, the last lesson that we learned, and I learned, is an opportunity is what you make. So opportunity is not what you are given. Opportunity is not even what you earn. But if you don't have an opportunity, it's what you make. So 3 things that I said from those stories that I had: make your own work. Especially if you have time on your hand, if you're not getting a job, if your school assignments may not be the best in your portfolio, just make your own work. Number 2, use your weakness as your advantage. Know what your weakness is. Use that as your weapon. And lastly, an opportunity is what you make of. To wrap up, I just wanted to share one more thing and one statement that was a very, very invaluable lesson for me. And what's unfortunate about this last lesson is it's something that I learned after I turned 30. I think I was about 31 or 32. And it was a quote from a designer from the 60s, an art director / designer from the 60s named Paul Arden. And it was one of those things that when I read it, I was like, shoot, I wish I had known when I was 20, 21, 22, because at that time, I had been rejected from my first job, for such a long time. I was feeling insecure, and I had many failures after that. But one thing that still to this day is an encouragement that I keep in my mind, as well as I hope you get to keep this in your mind as well, is it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. And I think being in a creative industry, being a creative person, being somebody who makes stuff, it's not about how good you are. As long as you keep doing it, and as long as you keep your goal high to be better than what you are today, it's going to be all right. Danke.
Thanks. Oh, hold on, I have a question.
Oh.
Ray, guess what? I think your weakness
Yeah.
became pretty good.
Oh, really? Thank
Your
you.
English is very outstanding.
Thank you. I tried to keep it simple. Yeah.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Yesterday I saw an interview with you,
Yeah.
and you've been asked, so what's the agency of the future?
Yeah, sure.
So what was the answer?
I
Your
wish,
answer.
Yeah, I wish it was as simple as, hey, this is the agency of the future because, the only constant thing right now is change. But I think just to simplify it, in the past, agencies, and it doesn't have to be a creative agency. It could be a travel agent. It could be a music agent. It could be any types of agent. Agent is usually a middle person taking something from the client and then asking somebody else to do it and then handing over, right? So I think a lot of agencies tend to use other people to make stuff, but I think agency of the future needs to be able to think and make at the same time, because the interval of going from thinking to making is now much shorter than what it used to be. So, what used to take, say, 8 months to make, now not only can you do it in 8 weeks, if not in 8 days. So the interval of coming up with an idea and making it and then putting it out to the public has drastically decreased. And, as many of you are, you guys are makers. So the shorter the interval between thinking and making, and the more you can do those things simultaneously, and the individuals and agencies that can do those things simultaneously are the ones who will create the future.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
How is the future of education going to look like, especially if we're talking to creative people?
Yeah.
Does education need to change? Is there anything you would recommend?
The future of education. I think a lot of the education, I'm not an educator by any means, but I think the same way that the distance between making and thinking is shortening, I think the distance between learning and actually being able to make money is also getting quicker and quicker. So I think schools are important, and I'm an advocate of asking people to go to school and learning. But at the same time, I think what I learned when I was in school is less about the tangible skills, but more sort of mental and social skills that I learned at schools that I still carry with me. So different types of people that I met in high school and in college are more important to me than the actual skill. Because when I was in school, it was Photoshop 1, and Photoshop 1 was no color. It was black and white.
Sweet.
It was 16 shades of gray. Can you imagine 16 shades of gray, right? And so everything was very dittered and very pixelated, and you could only do one undo. You couldn't have layers. When you copy and paste it, if you let go, that was it. You couldn't change anything. So that was like what Photoshop 1 was. I think it was Photoshop 2 or 2.5 that actually had layers. But I will be kind of cocky to say that I can use Photoshop faster than most of the designers that we have at AKQA. Because the fundamental skills that I had back then, I'm able to sort of carry and apply. So I think whatever you learn now, whether you're 18, 19, 20, even 25, 27, 28, 10 years later, you'll be surprised how valuable those lessons are when you learn, because the lessons that you learn when you're 35 is less significant than the lessons that you learn now. And what's kind of tricky is that, like today, we don't know what lessons we are learning now. It's only 5 years or 10 years later that we realize, the lesson that I had when I was 21 is now valuable. So that's just the force of nature, the time continuum. We can't really change it, right?
All right.
Yeah. So.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.